our place. So let's briefly see if the stream works. Let me just briefly see. And there is funny people or funny characters walking on the stream. Oops, so I should close this list. Boink. It has a bit of a delay, but this is very normal, I assume. Okay. So let's hope some people will be watching. Otherwise, I think I should start with the event tonight. We don't want it. We don't want to run over time, and we want to still have the chance to contextualize a little bit of what we're doing here so that you have an idea of what this is about. First question to everybody in the room, can you hear me well? Is it, maybe you can send a couple of messages and say like yes, or I can show you when you're pushing down the space bar, you can do this, for instance. And then you can express your emotions in case you wish to. Good. So you hear me well, and then I will start with the opening speech. Maybe Lars, I don't know. Yeah, you're right over here. So I will be next to you, and we will be standing here for a while and start with the event. So. Welcome, everybody. Welcome those of you who are here with us in Hubs, which is a couple of people as we can see in front of us. And welcome to all those of you who are watching our live stream on twitch.tv/DIGAREC. We are extremely delighted to having you here at the opening of our DIGAREC In-Game Photo Gallery. This is, many of you don't know this, but this has been a project in DIGAREC for quite a long time, and it has been sort of a dream that is now coming true. And I'm very happy that you guys can join us in this moment. My name, I should present myself. My name is Sebastian Möhring. I am an assistant professor in European Media Studies, a joint study program at University of Potsdam and the University of Applied Sciences of Potsdam, and I'm the head coordinator of the DIGAREC, the Digital Games Research Center at the University of Potsdam, and I'm also a member of the CEM, which is the Brandenburg Center for Media Studies. And I do have the pleasure to lead you through this event today. Here with me, it's amazing. Here with me is my colleague Lars Pinkwart. He is the designer. He is the designer of this exhibition, and he's also the research assistant of DIGAREC. He is the person who carefully crafted the space in this exhibition and is responsible for the look and feel of the information system. And he is a person who has all the knowledge of the technicalities behind this exhibition. For instance, like how to build such a room. So the two while I will be doing most of the talking tonight, Lars will have or today, depending on from where you're watching us, Lars will have an eye on comments and questions and will be available to talk to for those in the exhibition. In case you're wondering about, for instance, where to find the bathrooms or the wardrobe, you just turn to Lars and you're asking the question and answers will be given. So we both will be your hosts today, and we are again very, very happy that so many of you are joining us today. So what's the program for today? What we will be doing here? So we are already in the midst of the first point, which is we will give you a short introduction into Mozilla Hubs for those of you who don't know how to use this environment. We will speak a tiny little bit about the DIGAREC In-Game Photo Gallery, and in-game photography as a subject, and that shouldn't be taking much longer than 10 minutes. And after that, we will do a guided tour through the different works of the exhibition, where we are showing around 22 in-game photography works, one machinima work, and one mix between in-game photography and machinima. And as a third point, for those of you who will still have time afterwards, there will be some after show events possible. Stay tuned for this. Yeah, exactly. So how do you, first let's start with Mozilla Hubs. How do you control your character in Mozilla Hubs? You do what you do if you have first person computer game experience. You use the WASD keys on your keyboard to move the character, and you use the mouse and the left mouse button in order to move the view of your character. And with the two together, you will be able to see the exhibition. So I'm moving with the WASD keys here, and now I'm moving the mouse and see all of you. It looks fantastic, by the way. You can choose a character of your liking and change your name, but you've done that already, as I can see. So again, this event will be live streamed on Twitch. So if you do not want to be identified, then please use a nickname and choose an avatar which looks not like you in real life. And those of you who do have a VR device, you can choose to experience the exhibition in VR actually. So if you do have VR goggles, go quickly change to the VR goggles, and then you can see the exhibition in VR. And when inside the exhibition, you can express emotions. I've shown this before already by pushing down the space bar and then choosing some or one of the emotions. And as I've just shown here. Of course, you can also write perfect, yes. Of course, you can also write comments like I'm doing here, comments. And yes, and ask questions and do whatever. And when you're tired of being in the exhibition, you can also just become a more laid-back observer by changing to our live stream on twitch.tv/DIGAREC. So there's the first thing I want you to know is there's an option for also the Twitch crowd, those who are watching us on Twitch. You should be able to see an internet address in the comment field in the image. This is a link to a pad where you can ask questions to us, and we will try to answer them if possible. So in case some of you on the Twitch stream are interested in asking some questions, you can ask them here. For those in the room, you can just click the link in the comments, but this pad is also available from over here, where you can push open link and then communicate with the audience on Twitch. But we can also communicate in here with the comments section. Okay, so let me speak a little bit about in-game photography, and I promise I'll keep this short. To a good extent, works of in-game photography exhibit sort of a fascination between the virtual and the real. And to me, it seems actually that for many in-game photographers, there's an appeal in taking a screenshot, or this is the main appeal of taking a screenshot or in-game photograph from something virtual, which when printed on real photo paper seems to materialize into something real or even hyperreal if it's not already hyperreal before. Apart from the distinction between virtual and real, there are many other questions at stake in the practice and the study of in-game photography. And some of them are, for instance, like what's the difference between a screenshot and an in-game photograph, right? Where does the latter begin and where does the former end? So some, for instance, would argue it is possible to take a screenshot which can be both at the same time depending on the can be both at the same time depending on the intention of the creator. You could take a screenshot of a game scene in order to document an impressive achievement, for instance, which is visible in terms of the game interface and the numbers on screen. Say, for instance, a last-minute goal in an ice hockey match of an ice hockey simulation. And the same image, though, could also count as a photograph, as this information was only there by coincidence. And the actual intention of the creator was to show a scene of, for instance, how the ice hockey players are celebrating. And there are other theorists who do not even distinguish between the two, as such, like journalist Rainer Siegel and game scholar Matteo Bitanti both called in-game photography the art of screenshotting or the art of the screenshot. Some would would even ask if in-game photography is at all comparable to real photography. They would say that, or they would argue that it's actually lacking the physical process of light hitting a light-sensitive surface, and therefore it wouldn't even count as real photography. But media scholar Seth Giddings, for instance, holds that technically in-game photography is perhaps more comparable to a much earlier phase of the genesis of photography. To him, it has more in common with heliography. Or Cindy Perember, for instance, who wrote one of the first scholarly articles on this topic in 2007, would perhaps argue that already the function of in-game photographs resembles those of real-world photographs and therefore makes it a form of photography. For instance, documenting achievements, producing art, or taking snapshots of memorable situations. So currently, there are so many, it seems that there are a lot of scholars, curators, and practitioners working on the question of what is in-game photography. And so do our students whose works are shown in this exhibition. So if you're interested in learning more about in-game photography, I'll go over here. Feel free to check. It looks like an Easter egg, right? But feel free to check our uh, list of references, where we list a number of scholarly works on the subject. So, and if you want to learn more about the many artists practicing in-game photography, I would like to kindly refer you to the weblogs, which are on the lowest part of this list. You can see some weblogs here. Most importantly, gamescenes.org and videogametourism.at and also ingame.photography. There you can find a lot of information on the topic of in-game photography. And also there are currently a couple of institutions already working in this area. For instance, the Photo Museum Winterthur is working a lot with in-game photography, Photographers Gallery, London, also Milan Machinima Festival. But yeah, and some artworks, great. Some artworks can have even been shown already in very renowned cultural exhibition spaces, such as the Centre Georges Pompidou in Paris. So what's the idea behind this DIGAREC in-game photo gallery? The works in this exhibition were all created in the context of university seminars on the topic of in-game photography, which consisted of usually of three parts. So we do a little bit of theory on in-game photography. We are discussing and analyzing artists' work in this field, and eventually, in each seminar, students are asked to create a project of their own. And this is what you will see today. So the first show we did in the form of such a real-world exhibition, showing the photographs either as photo prints or on screen. Yet, of course, working with the medium of in-game photography, it seems only consequential to also ponder on the idea of showing works in a game-like environment, which may be accessed via a computer or another gaming device. The first attempt in this direction consists of a single user in-game photo gallery that we built in Blender and the game engine Unreal 4. But as we were lacking the skills, or as I were lacking the skills, um, it stayed a single user experience. It was only possible to use for one user. And now that when Corona came into the picture, we had to think of new formats of how to teach and research online. So we were also wondering if there weren't any tools available to recreate an exhibition experience online for multiple participants at the same time, like in a real museum. And when speaking to Marco De Mutis from Photo Museum Winterthur, he pointed us at a number of online exhibition tools amongst which we thought Mozilla Hubs was fitting our needs the best. And this is where we are today. So this opening sort of is also an experiment on how to do online exhibitions and to see how this works. And now I have to say a few thank yous, and then I'm already done with this speech. So first of all, I thank every one of you who's here today joining us. And I'm also thanking all the artists for their wonderful works, whom I will name now: Aaron Richmond, Alexandra Günther, Barish Aydin Lee, Celine Pilch, Christine Lacqua, Daniel Latzel, David Gatidis, Dulgun Schirchenball, Elise Kunze, Emily Hadrich, Fabian Brandner, Finn Wittford, Friederike Sophie Schulz, Jasmin Lehmann, Caroline Muschak, Lennart Mackis, Lisa Hein, Luzi Müller, Marian Billing, Marie-Lena Höftmann, Maurice Mathieu und Nadia Scherfi, Oliver Thurau, Philipp Röpke, Pia Zdila, Sandra Buttress, Sarah Töteberg, Stefanie Löbel und Till Schöneich. And thanks a lot to Lars Pinkwart for putting this together, and without whom this literally would not have been possible. So big thank you to you. And another thank you goes to Fritz Schlüter, who, those of you who do hear the atmospheric sound in the background, that is his work. So he's now working at the University of the Arts in Berlin, and did the sound design for the background for us. And then last but not least, thanks to all of our collaborators at the European Media Studies program, University of Potsdam, University of Applied Sciences of Potsdam, as well as the Brandenburg Center for Media Studies and beyond. And thanks to all inspiring in-game photographers, curators, and scholars. So that's the moment to applaud. Thank you. Okay, so now this is the first part of this opening is over, and I will now start a guided tour. So those of you in the room who are interested in following the guided tour and learning a little bit about some of the artworks that we are showing here, please feel free to follow me. Those following the stream will probably have no other option than following me or changing the channel, but I hope you will stay with us, of course. And everyone else is free to move as you wish. All right, so let's start. Let's go over here. So the first, no, wait. I have forgotten one thing. I forgot one thing, the collaborators. I wanted to show the logos of the collaborators, which are all here. Right, for those, you should be able to see this in the room. Those are the collaborators. And what you do see here is actually another little Easter egg. This is whoops. This is our computer games collection at the Digital Games Research Center at the University of Potsdam, where we do have around 10,000 computer games. Yes, so and this is how it really looks. For those who were always wondering if it is real and if it is really there, this is our computer games collection. Yes. All right. So, and now I hope you can follow me to the first artwork, which is straight ahead, where I want to say a few words. So it seems that one of the most photographed games in in-game photography is indeed Grand Theft Auto 5. And in this artwork, there is no difference with this. The work At War with the Obvious has been taking photographs in game and was trying to maybe I should say a bit more about the context. So in every class where we were doing these in-game photographs, we were trying out different strategies. And in this class, the students were asked to present a real-world photographer of their liking or an in-game photographer of their liking as well. And many of the participants in this class were actually then, for their own project, choosing the strategy or the artistic strategy of the artist of their choosing. And for this work, the artist or the model artist that was taken was William Eggleston, which is an American photographer who is very known for popularizing color photography in the US as an artistic medium. And he sort of, one could say, affected the visual identity of the mundane world of the United States of America with his specific approach to photography. And Daniel Latzel, who is the artist of this work, was basically trying to mimic the style and achieved this quite amazingly, as I think he did. Yes. So for Eggleston, it was usually about just taking one shot and never taking a second shot and then just living with the shot. Oops, why is it mirrored? It should be like this. And yes, and this is what I think this work is achieving quite well. So if you're interested in taking a comparison, try to look up William Eggleston's work and then see how it is possible in Grand Theft Auto 5 to recreate such an aesthetic that William Eggleston had. Let's see. There's another work that is also quite interesting. So to the left, you see a series of sunset photographs in The Sims 3, I think. And apparently, what is interesting in this photograph is not so much what you see, but actually what you don't see, because in-game photography is, of course, always bound to the restrictions that a game sets to you. So in order to take these photographs in The Sims, the artists had to constantly feed their Sims to keep them alive, right? Because they had to always cater their needs in order to be able to take these photographs in the first place. So, to this extent, that what you see is in stark contrast to what was necessary to actually take these photographs. And this work is one of oops, nope. Now I left a mark there. This photograph is working, or this series of photographs is working a lot with the distinction between the virtual and the real. You can see like some imagery um, from BioShock Inside, where the artist is playing with the idea of frames and of connection between the virtual and the real, while continuing some of the structures that you see inside, which you can see here with these walls that were found in the place of taking this photograph, and that is a connection to the materiality of the work that we see here of BioShock. Or here you can see this work where even the person in this picture is continued in the real world photograph behind the computer screen. So it's playing with the many different frames that are referencing each other. Whoops. All right. Let's get to this work. This work is called Battlefeld, and it's very much inspired by the works of German visual artist Hans-Peter Feldmann, who is usually not taking photographs on his own, but he's collecting lots of photographs and then usually sorting them around one common topic of these photographs, even though they come from very disparate collections. And in this case, the artists were choosing a first-person shooter, which is called Battlefield Hardline, and were taking photographs of these very mundane objects, which are these chairs in here, and that usually do not play any real role in the game. So your character can never sit on any of these chairs, but they are still there. So they are sort of, in a way, they are there to make this world appear more lively or more like a world, even though they do not play any, do not have any function in this game. So there's like, even here, there's some chairs on the on the roof of a building, or some chairs on a pier over here. And yeah, so that's also one approach. Whoops. So this is a work also shot in Grand Theft Auto 5. Whoops. The controls are a bit tricky, I must admit. So sorry for those who are watching. This is a work shot in Grand Theft Auto 5, where the artists were looking for street art in Grand Theft Auto 5. So they were taking pictures of the street art, like you can see here, like graffiti everywhere. And what's really interesting is that this is like one example where in-game photography turns into sort of a research method, because through this work, it was possible to find out, first of all, that there are two different graffiti gangs or graffiti artists, at least in Grand Theft Auto 5, which are never mentioned in the narrative of the game. So they do never really play any role in the story of the game, but they do certainly play a role in the aesthetics of the world of the game. So in an interesting way, this was a finding that was possible through in-game photography. And I do remember that Philip, the one of the two artists, said that he was very yeah, surprised that actually he thought he had seen it all in Grand Theft Auto 5, because he had finished the game a long time ago. And through this project of like going there and taking photographs with the in-game photo options, it was possible to re-experience the game in a new way. Okay, so maybe in order to keep this uh, not super long, I will move on to the next exhibition, which is the second part of the exhibition. That's the class of 2018. What we've seen before was the class of 2016. That was the very first class on in-game photography. So follow me here, join me here. So in this class, in the first exhibition, we were basically focusing quite generally on medial environments, milieus, and landscapes in computer games. And in this class, the focus was more on machines, on the difference between the human and the machinic, and the difference between the life and the dead, and things like that. So I would like to raise your attention to this work, which is called Game Over: End of Machine Lives, where the artists have chosen the game Horizon Zero Dawn, which itself plays sort of in a literally in kind of a almost post-human world where animals are machines, and mankind is basically only there as traces of the past. And this world is sort of run by evil machines, and there is a matriarchic sort of tribe that is trying to um, get a grasp back on the world. So in this work, the artists have chosen to contrast. Let me show this again. To contrast the like dead machine animals with like the traces of the human past, which is like just dead machines. And I find this quite an interesting contrast that these artists are doing here. The artists, not these artists. I know them. And you can see more pictures here. This is also sort of a machinic, yeah, like a boss opponent that you have to fight against, and after you've killed it, it is a sort of dead machine animal. Whereas here are like these old traces from sort of a ancient human civilization, which is basically, it looks a little bit like the world we are living in. All right. So, and there's another work on the opposite side, which is basically here, which is playing a little bit on, sorry, on a similar topic. Although here, um, so it's called Natural Animals in a Machine World and Machine Animals in a Natural World. And what the artists did here is they contrasted the game Grand Theft Auto 5. That's the topper, that's the upper part, with Horizon Zero Dawn, where we do have these machine animals that I just explained before. And it's quite interesting that in the upper part, they place machines in sort of an industrial world, like this, for instance, in Grand Theft Auto 5. No, animals in an industrial world. So it's an interesting combination of the um, animal and the machine. Whereas in Horizon Zero Dawn, you have it the other way around. You have the machinic in sort of a natural world. So it's a play on the distinction between the natural and maybe the cultural, or the natural and the fabricated. And I think they do it quite well aesthetically, because as you see, they are also trying to match um, the the composition of the image in both cases. Yeah. All right. Let's see over here. Oops. Ah, this work is it's also from the series on, or from the exhibition on machines and on the machinic. It's uh, taken in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which plays, or which is set at sort of the at the beginning, or in the high time of the industrialization in the 19th century. And the idea of this work was not to show machines so much, but to show human or manual labor, um, which is also sort of very much only part of the atmosphere of the game, or in the background. It's not something that you really engage with while playing there. But the interesting thing is, and I think that's quite maybe surprising to some of you, that the medium of these photographs is real photography. So the artist did take real photographs of the screen in order to get like this um, little this extra light into the image to make it look a little bit older than it probably was. So, and it's quite find it quite fascinating how it is possible. No? Oh no, what happens? And how it is possible to take these photographs and show these characters, and it almost looks like this is real, some kind of real photography, although obviously in the beginning of the 19th century, photography was not as developed in order to produce images like these. Yeah. So yeah, quite an interesting work. And it's generally interesting in computer games when you think about like this distinction between the humane and the machinic, or the organic and the machinic, that actually all the human or even the animal characters are to some extent always already machines by default, right? Because they are programmed objects that just always do what they are meant to do. So follow me to the dark room here. Let's see if this works. So this is this is a machinima work, which I hope I can start. I don't hear the sound. Lars, is it possible to make it play sound?
I'm trying now. Does it play sound if you enlarge it?
Is this one of the moments where we say it worked before? Oh, you can some can hear music. Oh, good. So, well, maybe some of you can hear music, but that's a pity that the Twitch audience can't hear music. But can you also see it moving, the image? How close do I have to be?
It should also play sound if you enlarge it with a right click.
Yeah, but it doesn't for me. Okay, so maybe I'm like just unlucky. I'm trying. I've tried it a couple of times. Yeah, yeah. Oh well. Okay, so maybe this is a reason to reopen the exhibition for some time later, or maybe to take another video of a video playing in the in-game photo gallery. Yeah. So those of you who can appreciate it, please appreciate it. So then I will also have to, maybe I can just watch you guys watching it, because that's also quite an interesting view. And after that, we will go to the last part of the exhibition, and then the guided tour will soon be over. Button F. Yeah, yeah. No, I've tried that. Hey, Santa Claus is there as well. That's amazing. Well, what you would be able to see in this video is really nicely crafted scenes that are put together in yes, in Fallout 4, where no humans are being seen. So this was decidedly be shot without humans. It's very atmospheric, and it's a really nice film to watch. So I'm sorry, I only can tell you about this film. Now my phone is ringing, so I'm turning it off. All right, let's go for the last part. Yep. Oh, maybe this work for those of you who are here. This maybe I should briefly say something about this work, because this is quite uncannily creepy, because it is on the left side of these images. You see the real world situation of where we were working on these in-game photo projects, and on the right side they rebuilt the whole seminar in Sims 3, the artists. And that's the human machine, and it's also playing, as you can see, as I said in the very beginning, and playing very much with a distinction between the virtual and the real. And it is yeah, that's just really a crazy self-referential loop, because for instance here, that's me sitting here building the first in-game photo museum in Blender and Unreal, while we are taking these photographs in this seminar. And yeah, and it was that was quite interesting, because at some point the characters in the Sims just start doing things on their own. So so in the very beginning it would be pretty much the same as what we do in the seminar, but at some point they would just start doing weird things, and it was uh, quite weird in the process of making. Okay, so let's get to the last part of the exhibition. That's entitled Media Reflexivity. It used to have a different title, but the works that were produced in the seminar did not, most of them did not match the original title, so I just gave it a title of which I thought was matching the works. And it's called media reflexivity because all these works in this part of the exhibition, or at least most of them, are sort of reflecting on the materiality of photography, of in-game photography, and also the materialities of computer games, right? And so many of the works in this part are playing with this. Yes. So this is also that's the works that have just been the most that were the most recent to be completed in January 2020, when we had the workshop to take these in-game photographs, and they are yeah, they're playing much more with the materiality of what in-game photography may mean. So let's have a look at this work, for instance, which in my view, it's called Exploring Screenshot Aesthetics by Friederike Schulz, who was inspired by screenshot artist Toru Itsumida with her work. So she did not only want to take in-game photographs, but she was always contextualizing the in-game photographs with other things. Like, for instance, very characteristic in this work is that you can always see the frame of the operating system of the computer, where which you can see around these images, right? So it's on purpose not producing any clean images which are supposed to mimic photography, but it's not doing this. And this all goes to the full extreme over here, where I don't know if you can see it in the exhibition, but where basically all the framing around the in-game photograph and all these coded images are like much bigger than the actual photograph. And this is like a work that is sort of also playing with this distinction between the aesthetic uh, the aesthetic surface of computer game imagery and the coded back or the coded mechanics of a computer game. So that what you don't see, but that which is basically responsible for um, every kind of action that you can take in a game. So yeah. So what? Let me show this work. Or this work is called Deconstruction, and it is a photo work. Of course, it's a photo work. You can see that. In city skylines. That's like a city building simulation, which you usually play and see the game rather from the top, like a bird's eye view. And in this case, the artist used a mod to fly really, really close to the buildings and to get them into the picture. And she was very interested. Alexandra Günther was very interested in like the in-between states of game objects in here, because in this game you can always build like buildings, and then for a brief moment they have like these scaffoldings around them while the game simulates that these buildings are being created. And she was also interested in showing these in-between states, or in also showing how even these buildings are sort of processes, like computer games always are processes. Because, for instance, here you can also see, you can see that this building is already losing, is, yeah, is losing some of its look, so to speak, or it starts looking worse and it starts to decompose, sort of, which happens when you do not maintain buildings very well in a computer game. So this is sort of a reflection on computer games as such. This work, exploring in-game photography, that's the title, was also quite an interesting work, because the artist wanted to actually work with shaders in Minecraft, and therefore you can see quite often an untypical mix between quite realistic looking water in the game and like these typical blocky trees of Minecraft. But this is not what this is about. What this work finally was about is about like these pixels that you can see, or these failures in the game, which are literally, you could say that those are, glitches. And uh, since it for the imagery of Minecraft, it takes quite a long time to render when you're using a computer that's not as powerful as like a gaming PC. And in the beginning, the artist was, I remember she was quite annoyed by this to happen, until she realized that this is should actually be the content or the topic of her work, is to document sort of this in-between state before like the world is fully rendered. And that's why these photographs were, or the game was run on purpose on a not so powerful computer, in order to have more time for this imagery to build up. Um, exactly, and to show this not yet fully rendered state of the game. All right. So there's quite a number of artworks that I want to show from this part of the exhibition. Um, Women of Sekiro is this is a work that is not so much addressing the materiality of computer games, but it's more about like the content and the cultural context of a game. And this work is working with the game Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which is set in sort of a samurai world, um, where you go through and yes, experience some sort of adventures. And what the artist Marilena Höftmann found is that, of course, women do not play like the focus role in this game. They are usually rather like backdrops, or they are sort of, well, they are not in the focus of the game. And even in one level, which of this game consists mainly of women who are opponents that you have to fight against. Um, so she wanted to document all the women in the game, and she did so. And it was actually quite complicated to. It was not as easy to take all these photographs as it may look now, because the game doesn't have like a photo mode where you can just stop. Um, where you can just stop and then take a photo, but you have to do it on time because you're being constantly or you're constantly at risk to be attacked in one way or another. And also, in order to not show the in-game interface, she had to use an interesting method to do that, because the only way to hide the interface is by using some sort of monocular um, telescopic device in order to be able to see the images as you can see them there. And this is how this is sort of clearly a feminist work that is has the goal to represent the women of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and to um, yeah to represent them. I'm showing some more of those. Yeah, and one part of this work was also interesting in that in the reflection, the artist realized that she was actually trying to follow a feminist agenda by the unmasking sort of the male gaze of this game, which is also placing, or which is looking at women in a specific way. It's objectifying them, uh, and by and the goal was actually to undermine this sort of male gaze. But eventually, she realized that by taking photographs of these women and by following them, or by it felt to her almost like a hunt, and as if these women, again, even in this project of empowerment, it felt to her actually that she was treating them also like objects eventually, and that was sort of a dilemma that's part of this sort of work. Yeah. So let's go here. This work's called In Different Universe, The Digital World Keeps Spinning by Pia Zdila. And I believe, Pia, you are here in the room as well. And no, that's not Pia, that's somebody else. And this work is using a method, I believe, that is inspired by work of in-game photo artist Claire Henschke, who did make average images in Grand Theft Auto 5. Making average images means basically to take a whole series of images and to stack them and to recalculate them so that only those parts of the image are left which are in most other images as well. So you do literally like an average image. And what this image makes, it makes it possible to sort of see the movement of the world, or to sort of document how this world keeps spinning while you're standing there taking these in-game photographs. This is like Grand Theft Auto 5 as well. And in Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the few games where when you enter the photo mode of the game, the world still keeps continuing. So if you keep your character standing on like a road, it may be possible that the traffic will hit you and then you will just die and will not be able to um, take a photograph again. And this is a way of representing this kind of status of or this kind of character of this game. This seems to be like a look from the inside of a car where you can see the steering wheel here, you can see the windshield. Yes. And another work playing on the materiality of photography and in-game photography. I have to go here. It's called Life is a Polaroid by Maurice Mathieu, and it's playing, or it's using Life is Strange, a game. It's one of the games where photography itself plays sort of an interesting role in the narrative of the game, because on the one hand, the main character Max is an aspiring photographer, and on the other hand, in the game, you do constantly find Polaroid photographs, or you do use photographs in order to turn back time. So not only these photographs, but also the whole game is like sort of invested in this idea of what you usually have with photography, that you can sort of stop time and preserve time in this very moment when you take a photograph. And in the game, you can turn back the time. And what the artist did, what you can, this is one of the artworks that are not really well presented in this or represented in this exhibition, because the actual artwork are real Polaroid photographs of these in-game Polaroid photographs, which is also playing with the aforementioned appeal of the virtual and the real in in-game photography, and of making yeah the untouchable sort of haptic in a way. So here you can see the Polaroids from inside the game. Or are these the real Polaroids? I'm confused myself. And those are the Polaroids of the Polaroids. And again, what you see here is obviously just a scan and not the real Polaroids, because the real Polaroids are with the artist. And there's no way of showing them in this in-game photo gallery, obviously. All right. So, oh yeah, maybe let's have a look at the last work, and then I didn't show all of the works, and maybe some of you who are interested may want to stay, and maybe we will be able to show them in a different context. But this is a combination of like moving image and still image, as you can see, where the artist was manipulating footage of Grand Theft Auto 5 in such a way that you're freezing the main character in what you just saw before and keep the environment still moving. Or in this way, he was creating some kind of impossible highway space um, out of Grand Theft Auto 5. So, yeah, maybe, oh yeah, that's also quite interesting, playing with some visual techniques. It looks like a car that's driving while standing still. Yeah. So, are there are some more works, but I think I'll keep it to that. And yeah, maybe this one's also just the last one to talk about, although then I've almost talked about all works. That's called A Gorgeous View, and it's about the game Dark Souls 3. And it's basically showing like views that you can only have in the game when you have fought against all the opponents. So whenever a space is cleared in the game, because otherwise it is not possible to have these views because you would be constantly attacked and it would be impossible for you to have these views. And the idea of the artist was to show that in some sense the view that you get is sort of a reward for playing the game very well, even though this image, for instance, doesn't look very rewarding because it shows some scene of brutality. But yeah, apparently it is very rare in this game that you are not attacked and you do not have to fight, and sort of you have to earn this in the game. All right, everybody. So there would be some more works to show, but I think maybe we'll keep it to that. And I thank you very much for following me and for listening to everything that I said. And I hope it was interesting for you. And I'm again very, very happy that you all came to the opening of the exhibition. And also to everybody on Twitch, thanks a lot for following us. It's quite remarkable because I think if we had an opening in Potsdam in a real place, it would not have been possible to put you guys all together in one room because you're coming from very different places in the world. So thanks a lot. So what to do now? Yeah, I guess for those in the room, please feel free to stay if you want and to chat around. I think I will stay a little bit longer. I hope Lars will stay as well. So if you have questions, we can talk about it. But maybe you do have actually some questions for us. Lars, were there any questions in the pad?
No, not yet in the pad. I think there was a question earlier if it was possible to take screenshots in the exhibition space.
Is it
But
possible?
yeah,
Oh yeah, we haven't shown you everything that's possible in this space, but maybe we can do this at some point. Yeah.
I don't think it was a technical question. It was more a question whether it was okay to take screenshots.
I see screenshots of screenshots basically. Yeah. Well, I guess. I guess if it's not recreating the works, then it's probably possible. So if you have any questions, come up and ask. The stream is still running, so if don't say any bad things or things that you wouldn't say in public because we are still sort of in public. Oh, there are some people suggesting we should have a book to comment the garnissage. The grading of the students. The good thing is they the students are not graded on their in-game photo works. So if the photo works are produced, they basically fulfill the requirement of being in the seminar. The grading in our case is rather related to like the whole module of what they are studying, and then they can choose to write a theoretical work about what they did, which some of the students were doing. So they can choose some kind of photo theory or some kind of in-game photography theory, maybe also some game studies theory, and then reflect on their own work. And that's how we grade. There was another question that is already gone. I forgot about it.
There was one question: how long the gallery will stay open?
Well, for some time, I guess. we will have a chance. We will be a. I think it's. We decided on maybe 72 hours as like a limit. I think we will. Um, yeah, let's say that, and probably it will pop up again, and then we will let you know. So feel free to sign up with us. Uh, Either on our Twitter, DIGAREC, Twitter is at DIGAREC Potsdam, or sign up on our Twitch and on our website, digarec.de. There's also the possibility to sign up for our newsletter. So in the newsletter, we will always inform everyone of events and when we will be opening the exhibition again. But those who are in here can rejoin it again for the next couple of days, I guess. And there's also we're also on Facebook with DIGAREC Potsdam, so it will be possible to to join us again and to join the exhibit. Cool. So I would love to have drinks with you guys, but well, that's also not really possible. Thank you, Federico, for coming. Very great. No, but this is a really good suggestion. So the question is, thanks a lot. There's a question: do the students have their work online or their portfolio to follow? I think most of the artists in this exhibition are only starting to be in-game photographers. So I can only hope that they start thinking about putting up a portfolio of their work if they want to. But I'm not aware of any of them showing their work online already, but that would be obviously a suggestion I would give them. I have not tried this room with a VR device yet because that was too complicated for me or for us to set up in the time and the possibilities we had. I believe it works with the Oculus devices. I think it does. And but it's probably something that you would need to look up in Mozilla Hubs to see if this works. What do you think, Lars?
Yeah, I think it should work. It says that at least Oculus Rift would work.
Yeah.
And there is also the possibility to run it on Oculus Quest and Oculus Go
Okay.
if it's opened in the browser, though. So I'm not sure if it's a true virtual reality experience.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris, for your nice comment. I'm happy that you can appreciate this work. Yeah, we've been always wanting to show it to a larger audience, and now this sort of gave us the opportunity to do that for once. And yeah, really great work, Lars. This is really fantastic.
Thank you.
Ah, damn, I forgot to mention this work. So I will do it now. So if those who are not here anymore, no problem, you can rewatch the recording. Um, I just keep talking about the in-game works. Yeah, go for dinner. Bye bye. This work's called Translucent Game Space and Intermediality, and it was basically also in a very interesting way was using Ansel, NVIDIA Ansel, which is a technology that only works with some computer games where you can add a photo mode to a game which doesn't have it included. So if you switch on Ansel, the whole world stops and you can freely fly around the world. And what Elise did in this work is a combination, or she was combining characters from the game Overwatch and placing them in the environment of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And like in a way that they look like they would have always been part of this world. In a sense, she's sort of playing on the idea of the she's playing on the idea of the permeability of nah, of game worlds, or of, yeah, the fictional worlds in games, or the narrative worlds in games, and how they can connect with each other by placing characters from one environment into a different environment. Oops, did I just move strangely? Ah, so this is for the Twitch viewers who are still watching. Um, this work is, and also for everyone still in the exhibition, that's the after show part. This is a work that is using imagery from Zelda Breath of the Wild, and by looking for hashtags which would describe the game's the images on top, but using those hashtags in the search on Instagram, the artist would like juxtapose imagery from Zelda Breath of the Wild with imagery from Instagram, which then also seems to be even repeating some of the motifs in the game. Thanks for coming, Nairo. And this work is the only work that is actually was actually working on the topic of the class, which was scenes of care. And Leonard was depicting um, the many scenes of sort of healthcare, of like hospital places in Bloodborne, or places where people are usually brought back to health, but which in Bloodborne are, as we can see, obviously very endangered places. The imagery is quite dark, so it's maybe difficult to recognize on the screen what you can, as you can see here. This looks like a, yeah, maybe a bed in some kind of hospital situation. Whoops. Oh, I think I just left. I just disappeared. I'll be back. But everybody else has disappeared too. Oh no, I'm in a different reality. What happened? Well, maybe this is a sign, and we will end up here. I may have I may have opened up a second reality, or a second instance of this exhibition, where only me is left and everybody else is still in the first instance. So now we are having issues with like the space and time continuum, and I will probably leave this place now and try to rejoin the others, and also use the opportunity to thank you everyone watching on Twitch, and we'll stop the stream now. So For everyone who's joined, thanks a lot, and looking forward to showing you more of our work again soon. Bye bye.